So I'm going to resume. Fine. So we were doing the classification of directors. We had just wound up with the small shareholders directors. Now it's time for independent directors. Okay. We have been largely talking about independence of the board, independent directors. Who are these independent directors? Basically, before telling you the meaning of independent directors, I would just want to throw light on the meaning of executive and non-executive directors. Okay. Now, what do you understand by executive and non-executive directors? See, executive directors is usually used to describe a person who is both a member of the board and who also has day-to-day responsibilities in the respect of the affairs of the company. So, for example, managing director, whole-time director, these are executive directors who are the members of the board and also being entrusted with day-to-day responsibilities of the company. So these are executive directors. They are basically they might be in the employment of the company. Then they are also considered as inside directors. Okay, but non-executive directors, on the other hand, they are the directors who are not in employment of the company. They are part-time or outside directors. Okay, you have to remember this. Such directors, basically, they are not appointed under any contract of service. So they are professional directors, nominee directors, and independent directors. Those who are basically members of the board, but normally they are not taking part in any of the day-to-day implementation of the board policies. Okay, so they are appointed for to provide the company with the benefits of professional expertise. They are non-executive directors and they are a voice on the board. So they actually are the people who, non-executive directors, they actually are the people who are who play a very effective role in governance of listed entities, governance or corporate governance of listed entities. In order to run a company in a better manner, we talk about independence. Independence of the board. Independence of the board means they should not be bound with any sort of vested interest. The directors should work without any sort of prejudice. They should work without any sort of without the thought of any personal gain. So that is why we say that the board should comprise of both the kind of directors, executive as well as non-executive directors. Under the category of non-executive directors falls the independent directors. I hope I'm making sense to you. So now, what did I tell you? I'll just repeat. Executive directors described as a person who is the member of the board and plus day-to-day responsibilities also. For example, managing director, whole-time director. Non-executive directors, outside directors, members on the board, but not having been entrusted with the responsibilities of implementing the policies of the board, and they are basically nominee directors or professional directors. Okay, the people who have got professional expertise, they have been appointed on the board. So independent directors fall under the category of non-executive directors. Okay, so the concept are all listed public companies shall have at least 1/3 of the total number of independent directors in the board. Okay, 1/3 of the total number of independent directors. Okay. Okay, so other public companies with paid up capital of rupees 10 crores or more, or with turnover of rupees 100 crores or more, or who have outstanding loans, debentures, and deposits of rupees 50 crore or more. So they have to have at least 2 independent directors on the board. So all listed public companies are supposed to have 1/3 of total number of independent directors, and at least 2 independent directors with other public companies having the following credentials. Okay, so you have to remember this. You have to learn this concept. You know, there are certain values which you have to keep in mind, like 10 crores or more, 100 crores or more. These things have to be kept in mind because they have been made up for certain reasons. So these things have to be memorized by you. So the following classes of unlisted public companies shall not be covered: a joint venture, a wholly owned subsidiary, or a dormant company. So these need not have the sub rule as we just did for the independent directors. Now, independent directors. We just spoke about all these aspects. I'll just keep this here. Okay. An independent director means a director other than a managing director. Managing director under the Act. See, I'll just tell you managing director. Managing director, Section 2, subsection 54, is entrusted with substantial powers of managing the affairs of the company. Independent director is not a managing director. I just told you managing director is an executive director. Okay, he is entrusted with the day-to-day operations of the company. Okay, so an independent director other than a managing director or a whole-time director. Now, who is a whole-time director? A director in service of the organization in which he or she is employed. Okay, so this person is in service of the organization and cannot be appointed simultaneously in 2 companies. Okay, so this is a whole-time director. He is also in employment of the company and is an executive director, or a nominee director who does not have, independent director is also not a nominee director, who does not have any material or pecuniary relationship. Pecuniary relationship means a relationship which is bound by some sort of interest, okay, with the company or the directors. Basically, an independent director is a non-executive director. Okay, and Act has prescribed certain provisions under Section 149, subsection 6, which talks about these provisions. You may just see once. So, not an MD, whole-time director, nominee director, which we just saw, may possess relevant experience, expertise, and integrity. Okay, not a promoter of the company. It's holding subsidiary or associate company. This is new. You must have done it by now. What is an associate company? Okay, you have to know this because by now we have reached a point in company law in which you should have knowledge of an associate company. So basically, associate company has been defined under Section 2, subsection 6 of the Companies Act. It is in relation to another company in which that other company has a significant influence, but which is not a subsidiary company and which includes a joint venture. Basically, I'll tell you, in which significant influence, that means if one company has significant influence in the other company, and significant influence means control of the 20% of the total voting power or control of or participation in business decisions, 20% का significant influence हो दूसरी कंपनी में, तो उसमें भी वो इंडिपेंडेंट डायरेक्टर नहीं माना जाएगा अगर वो उससे भी एसोसिएटेड है तो. So not related to promoters, directors. So he must have not transacted for not in the last 2 immediately preceding financial years. He has no pecuniary relationship other than remuneration as such director, or having transaction not exceeding 10% of his total income. None of his relatives is holding a security or interest in the company of face value of not exceeding 50 lakhs or 2% of the paid up capital of the company. None of his relatives is indebted to the company for more than 50 lakhs. Uske relatives bhi. Obviously, if his relatives have some sort of a connection with the company, then indirectly he also has some sort of a connection with the company. So these are certain things which you have to remember. Fifth point is in the last 2 immediately preceding financial year. Sixth one talks about in the last 3 preceding financial years. Okay, so you have to remember all these things and you have to just read completely about the independent director. I'll just move on. Then section 149 subsection 10 talks about his tenure. His tenure says that he can be an independent director for 5 consecutive years and for another 5 consecutive years by passing a special resolution. Special resolution means 3 times the voting in favor should be there. Okay, it should be after passing a special resolution plus a disclosure has to be made in the board's report that this independent director is reappointed for another 5 consecutive. After this 10 years of directorship, then he can be reappointed after a gap of 3 years. 3 years he cannot be reappointed as a director after having completed these 10 years. So section 149 subsection 12 talks about the liability of independent director. It only says that yes, independent liable only if they have done some sort of an act of omission or commission when having deliberately they have undertaken, intentionally they have done something and with the knowledge of the independent director and it has been proved, then only independent directors are liable. Section 150 provides for manner of selection of independent directors. So now manner of selection. Okay, this is now very interesting. You have to remember this. Nowadays, see what happened was earlier there was no data bank. Now there is a provision. See, earlier what used to happen that any independent director was easy task. It was an easy task to appoint an independent director. Till the time, proving independence was not a very difficult aspect. Now, because the companies have never prescribed the pecuniary relationship. Now what happened is because there was so much of difficulty, the corporate governance issues had come up because of the independence of the board. Now what has happened is section 150 has provided for the creation and maintenance of data bank of independent directors. Okay, they have provided in the wake of this dilemma that, what does independence mean? What does this mean? How this pecuniary relationship has to be defined. So this became very difficult for appointing value adding independent directors on the board. So therefore, section 150 actually had provided for the creation and maintenance of data bank of independent directors from which companies may select independent directors. It is exempted from section 8 companies, charitable institutions, and however the companies must conduct due diligence. They have to have certain due diligence before appointing a person from the data bank. So now of lately, Ministry of Corporate Affairs on the notification date of 22nd October 2019, they have notified Institute of Corporate Affairs Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs, which is in Manesar, Haryana, as an institute to create and maintain a data bank. So they will be creating and maintaining a data bank containing names and addresses and qualifications of persons who are eligible and willing to act as independent directors. Okay. It will be an online data bank, and then it shall be placed on the website of the Institute of Corporate Affairs, and any individual whose name appears in the data bank shall make changes in his particulars within 30 days. These are certain clauses check. But then now it has also come up that these independent directors have also to take up a test for determining their knowledge. So this has also come up that they'll be taking up a test and before being appointed as an independent director. So this kind of provision is very important for better corporate governance, that actually that independent directors on the board are independent and they are adding value to the board. So these are the steps which are telling us that how this particular independent directors data bank is being created. I just told you that Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs at Manesar is preparing the has been entrusted with the thing of preparing the data bank in accordance with the rules prescribed. So coming back to the PPT now. Requirement for an independent director. We have just done it earlier. This is the same slide which talks about the 1/3 of the total directors to be independent director for all listed companies and public companies having capital more than 10 crores. We just did that. Okay. Then term also we did. Sorry. Then vacancy of independent directors is to be filled in the next board meeting or within 3 months of such vacancy, whichever is later. Okay, this one is important. Separate meeting of the independent director. Yes, the independent directors of the company shall hold at least one meeting in a year without the attendance of non-independent directors and members of management. They have to hold at least one meeting in a year without the non-independent directors and members of the management to discuss about the company affairs. Now, in case of committees, as you know that under Companies Act also there are certain committees which are to be, the committees are basically formed for special purposes as in the whole of the board cannot always function together. So they segregate the board members into certain committees to give recommendations to the board, to give recommendations, to give suggestions to the board. So these committees are also supposed to be independent in nature. Okay, they have to be independent, and for that purpose, the constitution of the committee is such that it represents independence. So audit committee says that it shall consist of minimum of 3 directors with independent directors forming the majority. And audit committee is one of the most important, significant committees of the company. So it says that minimum of 3 directors with independent directors forming a majority. Nomination and remuneration committee. These committees shall consist of 3 or more non-executive directors, out of which not less than one half shall be independent directors. Okay, so this shows basically how important independent directors are for the companies in order to have better governance, more and more transparency and more and more, good. This is called as good governance when it is independent of your personal biases. So Corporate Social Responsibility Committee is also states that it shall consist of 3 or more non-executive directors, out of which at least one should be an independent director. Now, next topic we come up to is DIN, that is Directors Identification Number. As you know that that the number of directorship a person can hold is maximum to 20 companies, and out of those 20 companies, the maximum number of public companies can be 10, right? So in order to keep a check and track on this, earlier it was very difficult to keep a track on this. Now everything is electronic. Now we have digitized, we are into a digital world. So that has made life easier also, and that has actually made life complicated also. But in terms of these provisions, it has certainly created a, it is a boon that it has created so much of transparency in the system. So DIN basically is Director's Identification Number. Every director is mandatory to have a DIN, that is Director's Identification Number, under Section 152, subsection 4, which mandates every person proposed to be appointed as a director by the company in general meeting to have a Director's Identification Number. And no person can have more than one DIN. Okay, that person, there is a prohibition to obtain more than one DIN. Then only we will be able to track his directorships, right? We will not be able to track his directorships if he has more than one DIN. So it is a violation if he tries to have more than one DIN. Okay. So Section 153 talks about the application. That is every individual who wants to get appointed as a director in an existing company shall make an application electronically in Form DIR 3 for allotment of DIN, that is DIN, to central government, and he has to pay a prescribed fee for it. So Section 154 states that within 1 month, if all the credentials are up to the mark, then this would be allotment of can be done within 1 month of the receipt of application. Okay, so Section 155, again, I just spoke about it, that no person is allowed to have more than one DIN. So Section 156 says that the director, once he has been allotted the DIN, he has to inform the company or all the companies for that matter in which he is a director. Then comes Section 157. It talks about it is the duty of the company to inform about director's DIN to registrar within 15 days of the receipt of intimation from the director to the company. The process, like, firstly, the director will inform the company, then the company will inform the registrar. So post that, after everybody has got the information of the DIN of the director, then each and every document, like furnishing of any sort of returns, any sort of details in which the director is, director's name is there, he has to specify the DIN. It is the duty, it is the obligation to specify DIN. Okay, then comes your Section 159 about the violation or the defaulters. If there is a default in compliance of any provision under DIN, then there is a penalty which may extend to 50,000 rupees, and in case the default continues, then 500 rupees per day. Okay, then comes another important aspect, that is appointment of directors. Appointment of directors, we have already covered a few. I'll just tell you what all did we cover. Okay, so we just did how is small shareholder director appointed in this slide, right? Going back, we just did how are the first director appointed, right? This is the first director. Going back, so after first director, how are the subsequent directors appointed? Okay, it's very interesting. So as you know, subsequent directors, they are appointed in the general meeting, and they must have DINs, as we've just talked about, that they must have director's identification number. So they shall also furnish a declaration undertaking that they do not disqualify under Section 164 of the Companies Act 2013, and they are qualified to be directors, and they have to give consent to hold office in DIR 2. This DIR, DIR 12, DIR 2, they are form numbers, okay, in which they have to fill up their consent. Then the company shall, within 30 days of appointment of its director, this consent has to be sent to the registrar. Now comes the concept of rotational and non-rotational directors. There are certain directors who are non-rotational, okay, who are non-rotational directors, who are permanent in nature. They are fixed. They will never rotate. They always hold the position of the board, okay. Like for example, they are generally the ones who are the founder of the company generally. So, but there are rotational directors. Now, section 152, subsection 6, it talks about that. See, articles of association, it can provide that all the directors must retire at every general meeting. That means annually all the directors are retiring, but then it becomes very difficult. Okay, but there can be a provision in the articles that all the directors shall retire at every general meeting. If this is not a provision in the articles, then at least 2/3 of the total number of directors of the public company are liable to retire of the public company. Please keep this in your mind that I am talking about 2/3 of total number of directors of a public company are liable to retire by rotation and be appointed in the general meeting. Okay. Now, in order to calculate this total number of directors, independent directors are not to be included. Okay. Then at every EGM, 1/3 of the rotational director shall compulsorily retire. That means they will not be reappointed. Okay, so at every AGM, see, 2/3 of the total number of directors of a public company are liable to retire by rotation. Okay, and be appointed in the general meeting. They will be appointed, they can be appointed in the general meeting again. But then out of this 2/3 rotational directors, I'll give you an example in another slide. Out of this 2/3 rotational directors, 1/3 shall compulsorily retire from office. Now, for example, total number of directors in ABC Limited is 6. So how many will retire at AGM? So rotational is 6 into 2 by 3. That is 2/3 are rotational. That means 4 directors. Retiring 1/3 of this 4. 1.33, which counts to be 1 director shall retire from the post compulsorily. Now, doing this in short, reappointment of retiring director. At first, who are supposed to be retiring by rotation? The people who have been in the longest, who have actually been longest in office since their last appointment will be retired. Because if we have 6 people, how will we find that 6 directors, total number of directors excluding independent directors is 6? Then how are we going to find out that which 2/3 out of these 6 are going to retire by rotation? So we have to follow that who have been in the longest in office since their appointment, जिनका सबसे ज़्यादा tenure हो गया है अब तक. तो these people will be rotational directors. Okay, and out of those, 1 will have to retire compulsorily. अब now, क्या हम एक retiring director को reappoint कर सकते हैं? Yes. How are we going to reappoint the retiring director? अब देखिए, as per section 152 subsection 7 clause A, अगर हमने उस particular meeting में retiring director की vacancy को fill नहीं किया, and also we have not expressly resolved to fill the vacancy, meeting adjourn हो जाएगी next week, same day, same time, same place. Okay. Then in the adjourned meeting also, the vacancy of the retiring director is not filled up. Then the retiring director shall be deemed to have been reappointed. ठीक है, अगर हम लोग एडजर्न मीटिंग में भी रिटायरिंग डायरेक्टर की वैकेंसी को फिल नहीं करते, then the retiring director is deemed to get reappointed. Okay, unless and until these four are the, unless and until he is not disqualified from being the appointment, unless and until he himself shows unwillingness to get reappointed. So these are the things which we have to remember in case of reappointment of retiring director. Coming up to appointment of director other than retiring director, this is an interesting thing. If any other person wants to propose his name in getting appointed as a director, what he has to do, okay? A 14-day written notice must be given to the company before the general meeting, okay? The company must inform the members at least 7 days before the general meeting by individual notices or electronic mode that this person has actually is wanting to come for directorship. Okay, and वो किस तरीके से inform करेगी members को, individual notices send करे या electronic mode use करे, placing such notice on website or by advertising in two newspapers, English and in vernacular language, regional language होती है जहाँ पे registered office situated है वहाँ की. Now, another important thing is this one, that the person whose name has been proposed must deposit a sum of ₹1 lakh with the company. Whose name has been proposed must deposit a sum of ₹1 lakh with the company. And if the person succeeds in being elected, or he gets 25% of the total valid votes cast, और elect नहीं होता but 25% of the total valid votes उसको मिल by poll or show of hands, ये दो voting के तरीके हैं, the sum shall be refunded or else it will be forfeited by the company. Forfeited मतलब cancel हो जाएगा. Now the point is provision of depositing 1 lakh rupees. See, this provision of depositing 1 lakh rupee is just to restrict the non-serious attempts of people. You know, people can, let's try. We can try to, get appointed as the director of the company. This, many people can do just to restrict non-serious attempts and related wasted of time also. There is a waste of time and energy and also resources of the company. They'll have to put out notice for everyone out there. They have to send individual notices or electronic mode. It is a wastage of time if people just do it for the fun. So that is why this amount of ₹1 lakh has to be deposited with the company. Whosoever wants to propose his name for the appointment of the director, and in case he succeeds or gets 25% of total valid votes, then this money will be refunded, else it would be forfeited by the company or cancelled by the company. Okay, then this is, we have come back to the, what do we call, appointment of directors. We were doing this appointment of directors. Okay, by the board of directors, we have already discussed how board of directors can appoint these 4 types of directors. Okay, by proportional representation, by proportional representation means, what happens is that majority ordinary directors are appointed by majority. Generally 51% or more may elect all the directors. Thus 49% may not find representation on the board, right? 51% of the majority can elect all the directors. 49% may not find representation on the board. So system of this proportional representation is to provide proportional representation to minority, this 49%, by way of 2 types of systems like singular transferable vote or through the system of cumulative voting. Okay, so but this concept is not shall not apply in case of government company. Section 163, this shall not apply to a government company in which the entire paid up capital is held by the central government, state governments, or both, a subsidiary of the government company, or the event where the entire share capital is held by the government company. होता क्या है, 51% तो मेजॉरिटी सारे के सारे डायरेक्टर्स को अपॉइंट कर सकते हैं, बट 49% की रिप्रेजेंटेशन रह जाती है, तो इनको भी रिप्रेजेंट देने के लिए प्रोपोर्शनल रिप्रेजेंटेशन का एक तरीका निकाला है. एंड प्रोपोर्शनल रिप्रेजेंटेशन tries to give representation to the minority by way of two types of methods. One is system of single transferable vote. We will discuss it if we are left with time, because it has to be done in detail. System of single transferable vote, and the other one is system of cumulative voting. So we will discuss it later. Another appointment can be done through tribunal directly. Okay, tribunal can ask them to can make, in case of any sort of oppression, relief in case of oppression. Oppression is when it is found that there is oppression of minority, उनको दबाया जा रहा है, तब ट्रिब्यूनल क्या कर सकता है, अपना एक डायरेक्टर बोर्ड पे बिठा सकता है, एंड दैट पर्सन, द ट्रिब्यूनल कैन आस्क द डायरेक्टर टू रिपोर्ट टू द ट्रिब्यूनल ऑन मैटर्स दैट विल बी डायरेक्टेड. तो अगर ऑपरेशन हो, इन केस ऑफ रिलीफ फ्रॉम ऑपरेशन, दिस कुड बी डन. अगर कोई कंप्लेंट गई हो ट्रिब्यूनल के ऊपर कि यहाँ पर माइनॉरिटी को ऑपरेस किया जा रहा है, तब ट्रिब्यूनल अपना एक डायरेक्टर बोर्ड पर बिठा सकता है. ओके, डिस्क्वालिफिकेशन ऑफ डायरेक्टर, दिस कम्स अंडर सेक्शन 164. बहुत इसके बारे में बात कर चुके हैं. इफ अ पर्सन इज ऑफ अनसाउंड माइंड, अनडिस्चार्ज सॉल्वेंट, उसकी एप्लीकेशन पेंडिंग है और वो he is lied to be adjudicated. Adjudicated मतलब उसकी judgment आए as an insolvent. Then if he is convicted for any offense which involves moral turpitude, कोई moral offense किया हो और उसको 6 months की उसके लिए imprisonment हुआ हो, और he had a period of 5 years has not yet elapsed, मतलब कि 5 साल तक उसको वो डिस्क्वालिफाइड ही रहेगा. 5 साल के बाद ही विल बी क्वालिफाइड फॉर बिकमिंग अ डायरेक्टर. तो देन ही शैल बी, ही हैज नॉट पेड एनी कॉल्स ऑन एनी ऑफ द शेयर्स हेल्ड बाय हिम ऑफ द कंपनी. उसने अभी तक, वो डिफॉल्टर है, उसने कॉल्स पे नहीं करी हैं, एंड ही हैज बीन डिस्क्वालिफाइड बाय द कोर्ट और द ट्रिब्यूनल. कोई डिक्री पास कर दिया गया हो, डिक्री माने ऑर्डर हैज बीन पास्ड फॉर हिम बीइंग to be disqualified as a director. So this comes under section 164, which we have been talking over and over again. He has been convicted of the offense dealing with related party transactions. Section 188, please remember, section 188, preceding 5 साल में उसको convict करा हो related party transactions से, उसने अपनी maximum number of directorships जो सेक्शन 165 में हमने पढ़ा था, 20 डायरेक्टरशिप्स which he can hold, उसको वायलेट कर दिया हो. उसने एनुअल स्टेट, सेक्शन 164 सबसेक्शन 2 also provides no person who is or has been a director of a company which has not filed financial statements for a continuous period of 3 financial years or has failed to pay the deposits, वो तब भी डिस्क्वालिफाइड हो सकता है. Okay, so remember this, section 164 subsection 1 and section 164 subsection 2 you have to do in disqualification of the director. Now removal of directors by shareholders किया जा सकता है by ordinary resolution. This could be done, then it could be done by the tribunal for mismanagement और ऑपरेशन, प्रिवेंशन ऑफ ऑपरेशन और मिसमैनेजमेंट के अंडर ये सब कुछ किया जा सकता है. You can read it, it's very easy. Powers of the board. Now board has certain powers under section 179. These are certain powers to make calls, to authorize buyback, issue securities, to approve financial statements, to grant loans. Main important powers of the company to diversify the business of the company, moving into some other, having diversification, to approve amalgamations, to take over company, acquisitions, mergers, etc., etc. All these things, these are the powers of the board. Rule 8 also provides further powers of the to be exercised at the board meeting, to talk about, to have some political contributions which can be made by the company, to appoint or remove any KMP. KMP are key managerial personnels. To appoint, abhi hum karenge aage, to appoint internal auditor, to take notes of directors' interest and shareholdings, etc., etc. These are certain powers of the board which you need to remember. To approve the annual financial statements, quarterly, half-yearly financial statements, to accept, invite, or renew the public deposits, to buy and sell investment more than 5% of the paid up capital and free reserves. ये ध्यान रखिएगा, more than 5% के ऊपर board की power है. Now we have KMPs. These are the key managerial personnel: chief executive officer, managing directors, whole-time directors, chief financial officers, manager, company secretaries, and any other officer as may be prescribed. So KMPs basically are, as per section 203, subsection 1, every listed company having a paid up capital of rupees 10 crores or more shall have whole-time KMPs. So they have to have whole-time KMPs, and appointment can be done by passing board's resolution, including terms and conditions and remuneration, and what actually other provisions are applicable on KMPs. They are prohibited from doing any sort of forward dealings, insider tradings, etc. Then they cannot hold office in more than one company except its subsidiary at the same time. Please remember this. KMPs are the people who are appointed by passing board's resolution. They cannot hold office in more than one company except the subsidiary of the company at the same time, same company at the same time. So in case of any vacation of the office of KMP, it shall be filled by the board within a period of 6 months. Okay. Punishment for contravention, obviously fine not less than 1 lakh and can extend to 5 lakhs. In case every director or KMP in default, 50,000, and if default continues, 1,000 per day is the punishment. I am a little moving quickly because we have certain things to do. Managing director, we had already discussed, section 2, subsection 54. It says by virtue of AOA, that means the person who's been entrusted with substantial powers of managing the affairs of the company. We have whole-time director, who is whole-time in service of the organization, cannot be appointed simultaneously in 2 companies. We just did it. Now chairman. Chairman basically who presides over the meetings, whether it is a board meeting, a general meeting. He has a very important role in executing the major decisions. He presides over the meeting, and he is considered as first amongst equals. He is the person who has been appointed mutually by the board members by the show of hands or by poll that he is going to be the chairperson and he will preside the meeting, who is going to run the meeting basically. Articles may provide that chairman of the board shall be the chairman of the general meetings. They may differ, there may be different chairmen, but if articles provide that chairman of the board will only be the person who is going to preside over the general meeting, then it is going to be the same person. It may, the chairman can be different, he can be the same person also. Manager is the person, individual, subject to superintendence, control, and direction. He works under the direction of the board of directors, has the management of the whole or substantially the whole affairs of the company. Okay. Company secretary. Company secretary is the person basically who has been defined under the Company Secretary Act and who is who actually performs the functions of company secretary. And what is the function of company secretary? Compliances. He has to check for compliances, that whether the company is complying to the provision of the act, whether the company is complying to the provision of the secretarial standards or not. The position of company secretary is very important. Hence, company secretary is a KMP. Okay. This is the procedure to appoint the key managerial personnel. Okay, and you can just read it. We just did it in here also. You know, passing board's resolution, prohibition of this. So this is almost the same. You can just go by it once. Now comes, I am not going to, obviously we are not left with a lot of time that I will be able to cover the meetings, all the meetings, but precisely I will be able to cover board meetings. So this is a basic structure of meeting of a company form of business organization. There are meetings of shareholders, which are divided basically into 3, and we will be considering. We have AGM, that is annual general meeting under section 96. We have extraordinary general meeting under section 100, and we have class meetings under section 48. We will be discussing this and this in detail, and I will also be giving you a glimpse of class meetings tomorrow. Okay, for the directors, we have board meetings under section 173. We have committees, different committees. We will be discussing this in detail. Then we have certain other class of meetings also under Companies Act 2013. Creditors, we have debenture holders under section 71, and IBC under Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2016. We will be discussing this in another unit. That is, we will be discussing IBC Code 2016 in detail. Then we have certain contributories during winding up. We will be discussing a portion of it in the unit of winding up, which we'll be doing tomorrow. So today, of the board meetings, there are certain important provisions under section 173 of the meetings of the board, which talks about first of all, the first board meeting. Section 173 of the Act says that the first board meeting should be conducted within 30 days of the date of incorporation of the company, within 30 days. Okay. Then gap between 2 board meetings. Thereafter, there shall be minimum of 4 board meetings every year. And 120 days gap, not more than 120 days, shall intervene between 2 consecutive board meetings, not more than 120 days. Okay. Then, but for OPC, that is 1-person company, small company or dormant company, I am assuming that you know the meanings of these companies. If you do not know the meanings of these companies, please after the class check out chapter 1 and 2, which you must have already covered in your SOL classes. In case of 1-person company, these provisions differ a little. Okay, the above 2 provisions differ a little. How? In case of OPC, small company, dormant company, private company, which is a startup, it is a new concept. At least 1 board meeting should be conducted in each half of the calendar year. That means 6 months, 1 board meeting should be there. And the gap between 2 meetings should not be less than 90 days. The provisions have changed. Okay. So, however, this provision would not apply to 1 company where only 1 director is on the board. Of course, we need to have at least 2 people for the meeting to happen. Okay, so this provision would not apply where there is only 1 director on its board in case of 1 company. So they are exempt from this particular provision when there is only 1 director. So section 8 companies also, it shall hold at least 1 meeting within every 6 months. Okay, it shall hold at least what do we call it? At least one meeting within every 6 calendar months. I'll repeat. Section 8 companies are the companies which are formed with charitable objects. Excuse me. Section 8 companies are formed with the charitable objects. So there are certain exemptions for the board meetings to happen in Section 8 companies also, that these companies shall hold at least one meeting within every 6 calendar months. So notice of the meeting, not less than 7 days written notice to all the directors, delivered by hand or by electronic means. And also, if a shorter notice needs to be given, that means less than 7 days, then in order to transact some emergency or urgent transaction has to be done, urgent business needs to be transacted, then a shorter notice must be given, provided at least one independent director is present in the meeting. Then a shorter notice could be given in case of board meetings for emergency sake. If there is a failure to send proper notice, a fine of rupees 25,000 to the person who's concerned, who's liable. Quorum of the meeting, 1/3 of the total strength of the directors should constitute the quorum of the meeting, or 2 directors, whichever is higher. Please understand, whichever is higher. Okay, so if there are 9 people, 9 directors, then 1/3, 3 forms the quorum, 3 or 2, whichever is higher. And also this thing has to be in this world of digitization. Participation of directors by audio video conferencing shall be counted as quorum. We are digital, everything is legal now. So in case of in case any director wants to join through audio video means, that person will be counted as quorum. Okay, while counting quorum, vacancies and interested directors are not counted. Who are interested directors? Interested directors, the definition is given under section 2 subsection 49. It means in any way he is interested in the contract or arrangement or the proposed contract or arrangement in which the company is going to enter. He will not be counted in the quorum of the meeting, board meeting. So these and also the vacancies are not to be counted, but interested directors are not counted in the while counting the quorum of the meeting. Time and place, there is no prohibition, there is no restriction on the time and place of holding the board meeting. It could also be called on a public holiday. Okay, this point, this one, very important aspect to discuss. Board meeting can happen through video conferencing also. Okay, it can happen through video conferencing. Nowadays, everything is happening on video conferencing, but there are certain things which cannot be transacted. You know, in times of any sort of crisis, I cannot say, but in accordance with the Companies Act 2013, when a board meeting is, we are holding a board meeting through audio visual means. Okay, we are holding a video conferencing and a board meeting is going to be held for that. There are certain things which cannot be transacted. There are certain matters which cannot be transacted through video conferencing, and those matters are these 5. Approval of annual financial statements cannot be done through video conferencing. Approval of board's report cannot be done through video conferencing. Approval of prospectus, no. Audit committee meetings for consideration of accounts and the approval of matters relating to amalgamation, merger, demerger, acquisition, or takeover. So these are certain aspects which cannot be transacted through video conferencing, and this is very, very important to know. Okay, so this was about your board meeting. Tomorrow I will do your annual general meeting and your extraordinary general meeting, plus the unit which covers the winding up, some topics of winding up. I hope and the obviously dividends, audit, and winding up, as many I would be able to cover. So thank you very much. We shall meet tomorrow at 10 o'clock.